You want to know which wide receivers are ready to break out in 2022 for fantasy football? Stay tuned and we'll tell you. Welcome back, in-game community. I'm Pierre. He is Chris. We're going to talk about 6 wide receivers in year 1, 2, or 3 that are ready to take that next step and dominate in fantasy football. All right, Chris, you're up first. Who you got?
This one may come back to bite me, but I'm maybe too high on Brandon Ayuk. I really like Brandon Ayuk this year. Last year, not the best for Brandon Ayuk. Came out of the gates in the Shanahan doghouse, did nothing for a long time. Really wasn't even on the field to start the season. And then, of course, was behind Debo, who had just an insane season. But I think there's reasons to be much more optimistic about Brandon Ayuk this year. Number one, he's not in the Shanahan doghouse, right? Shanahan's even complimented him and said he looks good and he's putting in the work. So that's right there is already a huge plus, right? We're already off to a much better start. Number two, Trey Lance is a much better quarterback for Brandon Ayuk than Jimmy G is, because Jimmy G, A, is a terrible deep ball thrower, and B, won't take chances. He's just not a guy who's going to take chances, right? We've talked about it. The reason why Debo was so good last year was, A, because Debo is so good, but also because Jimmy G is one of those guys who'll get it out quick, he'll get it to you, and he'll let you do your thing. Trey Lance, we've already seen it. This guy has an arm. He's got a cannon. And Brandon Ayuk runs more of the vertical routes in this offense. He's a true X receiver. So that's going to be a benefit for him. And the other thing is, Brandon Ayuk, despite how bad he was early in the season, and despite being in the doghouse, to start the season, he's actually a very good wide receiver. And if you look at from weeks 9 to week 17, he actually finished as a wide receiver 14 last year. So he's being drafted still as a guy who people are kind of a little nervous about, like a 5th, 6th, 7th round kind of range, depending on your league. And I think he's going to absolutely, crush that and have a great season this year. And we're going to see the Brandon Ayuk that a lot of us really thought we were going to see last year. Just maybe, took him a little year to get things going, I guess.
Yeah, look, as frustrating as Kyle Shanahan can be to fantasy football, he does know how to get the most out of his players, right? So if Ayuk is finally, developed into the pro that he wants him to be and he's unlocked that potential, look, let's not forget, this is a former first-round pick. He has a ton of potential in this offense. So Darnell Mooney doesn't quite have that same pedigree. This is a 5th-round pick. This is a guy who has always had to work hard to make his way in the league, and he's done that. So you could argue maybe he broke out last year because he reached the 1,000-yard mark, but it took a while before people really caught on and figured out, hey, this guy is actually pretty good and can help me in fantasy. And he didn't really have a lot of those boom weeks. That's the thing. He kind of was that steady, quiet production because, well, that's pretty much how the Bears offense was. It was pretty quiet and steadily not good. Okay, will they be better this year? I don't know. Honestly, I think it can't be worse. Obviously, with Matt Nagy being gone, that helps. I don't know if it's going to be quite as dynamic. It's going to be a conservative offense. They're going to run the ball a lot. But here's the thing. When they throw the ball, it's going to be Darnell Mooney first. It's going to be Darnell Mooney second. Maybe a little Cole Kmet here and there. And then it's going to be more Darnell Mooney. Because that's it. He is the passing game. He's not just their number one receiver. They don't have a lot behind him, okay? As much as I like Velus Jones Jr., getting dogged for his age, he's a return guy. He's a once in a while vertical threat guy. He's not a threat to Darnell Mooney's target share. Neither is Byron Pringle. I can guarantee that. So I think we're going to see Mooney really take a leap forward. So what am I talking about? Well, if he reached 1,000 yards last year, we're going to be looking at 1,300, maybe 1,400 yards. So it's a guy who should be a locked-in wide receiver 2. He's not really being drafted that way. He's being drafted more like a wide receiver 3. I think that makes him a bargain in fantasy drafts. But also, this is a guy who I think we're kind of dismissing as a potential breakout because of the offense he's in. All right, so Justin Fields, for better or worse, he will be improved in year 2. He may not be a superstar, but he doesn't have to be to support a wide receiver who is going to be an alpha. All right, we're going to see so many targets Darnell Mooney's way. We're going to wonder why we missed this guy. All right, let's go with another player you think could break out at wide receiver.
Yeah, the Eagles' offense used to be an offense where you pretty much avoided wide receivers, right? And then they added A.J. Brown, but he's already broken out, so we're not going to talk about him, of course. And Jalen Hurts, did everything you want to see from Jalen Hurts last year, and all the talk is that he's gotten even better. And it seems like his second-year wide receiver, Devonta Smith, has kind of been forgotten in this offense. Like A.J. Brown, everybody loves. Dallas Goedert, everybody loves. Jalen Hurts, everybody loves. But Devonta Smith was very, very good last year as a rookie. Not only the numbers he put up as a rookie, especially considering the offense he was in, an offense that ran the ball a ton, but also in his peripherals when you look at his route running, his success rate. And those were the things that really made him such an elite prospect, right? He doesn't have the crazy, freakish ability of like a Jamar Chase. He is an incredible route runner, and he gets a ton of separation, and he gets open. And what are we hearing out of camp right now? Nobody can cover this guy. Like, he is ready to make the leap. And people are worried, oh, well, A.J. Brown's there. Is there going to be enough targets? I don't know. Maybe not. I think they will pass more than they did last year. All the signs are pointing to them throwing more. You don't bring in A.J. Brown if you're not going to throw the ball more. But also, do you think defenses are going to worry about A.J. Brown or Devonta Smith? I'm going to go with A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith last year had no other wide receiver that was any good to help take any pressure off of him. Now, he's got an elite wide receiver in A.J. Brown. The pressure isn't going to be all on Devonta Smith. I think Devonta Smith makes that second-year leap that we see a lot of wide receivers make. And again, another guy going in those middle rounds, kind of late middle-ish type of rounds, that I think is just an incredible value and has tons of upside. So would not shock me one bit if we're talking about Devonta Smith, as an early round, second, maybe not second, but maybe like a third, fourth round pick in drafts next year. I think he's really going to break out this year in this offense.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, a lot of people had him just behind Jamar Chase for the best wide receiver prospect last year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's pretty close with A.J. Brown in fantasy production. But again, going later in draft, so actually probably a much better value on draft day. All right, now I'm going to talk about a guy that isn't going to be the number one receiver on his team unless something happens. God forbid there's an injury. But look, in Houston, there's Brandon Cooks, and then there's Nico Collins. He's firmly the number 2 guy. Unfortunately, John Mechie, promising rookie, is out for the year. Hopefully he does come back next year sometime soon. So Collins, first of all, he's got that in his favor as far as target share, right? There's not a lot of depth in this offense, as you know if you watched the Texans at all last year. Collins, a guy really didn't stand out as a rookie, but who could blame him, all right? Throwing out another rookie who wasn't a first-round pick, Davis Mills at quarterback. They kind of grew and learned together, and by the end of the season, they had some semblance of a pass offense. I think Davis Mills takes a step forward. I think Nico Collins takes a step forward. Let's also remember that this is a team that had a rookie head coach who was thrown into a terrible position. They had just lost their franchise quarterback for the year unexpectedly, so kind of had to make do with what they had. But I guess he just wasn't ready for prime time. So now they have a new head coach and a guy that is an old head coach. You probably heard of Lovie Smith, but also he brought in offensive coordinator Pep Hamilton. Hamilton's a guy who's had several opportunities, different stops, because he's got a little more innovative, active offense. I think we're going to see this offense kind of unlock some of its potential. The thing is, they don't really have enough playmakers to be a top-tier offense, but they're going to rely on the guys they have. Of course, you heard of Dameon Pierce, all the hype, whatever. That's for a different video, different conversation. Nico Collins is a guy I think we could see make a lot more plays, especially down the field. Look, he's 6'4", he's got length, he's got good speed, and he's going to get a lot of targets. I think we could see a huge step forward, a guy who's kind of just being ignored in fantasy, and he's definitely going to be relevant. So I'm looking for a big year from Nico Collins. All right, one more breakout at wide receiver. Who you got?
Look, I loved Chris Olave going into the draft. I loved Chris Olave's landing spot. Kind of backed off Olave a little bit here, early in camp when it looked like Michael Thomas would be ready and they brought in Jarvis Landry. But now I'm back on Chris Olave because what are we already hearing about Michael Thomas? He's got a hamstring issue. And we shouldn't really be surprised, right? This is a guy who hasn't done any football type work in almost 2 years. To me, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a sports physician, but to me, a high risk of soft tissue injury would be a guy who hasn't really done explosive football type activity and then tries to go do football explosive activity after 2 years. So I'm not really surprised he's already dealing with a hamstring injury, and he's probably going to be dealing with stuff like this all season long. Chris Olave has a chance to be the number one receiver in this offense. Jarvis Landry, a nice receiver, but he is what he is, right? He's a possession receiver. He's a contested catch type of guy. He's not some elite route runner who's going to get separation all over the field. Olave is. He can run every route. He can get separation on every route. He can beat every coverage. And like a lot of rookies, no, he might not come out of the gates, firing on all cylinders, winning you your weeks. But down the stretch, when it matters most, we talk about this all the time, it matters most down the stretch. It doesn't matter that Amon-Ra St. Brown did nothing the first half of the year because he won your championship down the stretch. Olave, I think, is a guy who can do something similar. Slow start, get acclimated, get his feet going, but down the stretch, when they get him more integrated in the offense and start using him more, I think he takes over, becomes the leading receiver on this team, and helps people win championships.
There you go. You said it. Look, a lot of these rookies are so exciting before the season, and then things get going, and they don't produce as we expected because our expectations are too high. And then all of a sudden, when it matters most, you'll see, what separates the elite players from the just average players. And I think Olave definitely has the juice to be an elite player. I agree with you there. All right, so I went from a 1 to a 2, and now a 3. A guy who's not even one of the top 2 targets on his own passing offense, but I'm still drafting KJ Osborne quite a bit. Why? All right, so first of all, there is a potential Adam Thielen is off the field quite a bit because, look, he's getting older. He's a guy who's been banged up a lot, especially last year. So there's that possibility, but I'm not even banking on that. Even if all 3 receivers are healthy, I still think Osborne is going to get used a lot because let's remember, now we got Kevin O'Connell going to Minnesota. This offense is going to use a lot more 11 personnel. We're going to see 3 receivers on the field. We're going to see Osborne involved regularly. Had 50 catches last year after really doing nothing as a rookie. This is a guy who is interesting because, look, he's not a big guy. He's not really a pure burner, like a downfield threat, but he knows how to get open. This is a guy who's converted from running back. He knows how to make people miss. So he can catch the ball in space. And look, with Justin Jefferson down the field getting double, probably triple teamed as he should be, KJ Osborne is going to be open a lot. All right, so I think the volume will be there. Probably in full PPR league, he's a guy you could start on occasion and maybe even be part of your starting lineup. Osborne, you know what? I'm not going to go so far as to say he's got the upside to be, 1,000-yard, 1,200-yard receiver to that level. But this is somebody who could all of a sudden jump onto the scene and be very relevant for fantasy leagues where, again, a lot of people probably don't even know he exists. All right, those are our favorite wide receiver breakouts, guys. Don't forget, we also do this for running backs, and we have all the information you need to help you win your league starting on draft day. All right, thanks for watching.